Dad, Emily and I have been thinking, and, well, we think it would be better if you didn't come to the wedding. Those words came out of my own son's mouth, Michael, just 3 months ago. And if you stay until the end of this story, I'm going to tell you how everything changed on that wedding night, and how my daughter-in-law Emily ended up on her knees, begging me for forgiveness in front of more than 200 guests. But first, let me introduce myself. My name is Oliver. I'm 67 years old and I live here in my city, downtown, where I've had my watch repair shop for over 40 years. Yes, I'm a watchmaker, the kind you barely see anymore. The kind that fixes antique clocks, pendulum clocks, pocket watches inherited from grandparents. My shop is on a tiny corner near Senia Park, and it has a sign that says Oliver's Watch Shop since 1985. I dedicated my whole life to two things, my family and my craft. My wife Sarah and I raised Michael with a lot of effort, a lot of love, and a lot of sacrifices. Sarah, my sweet Sarah, passed away 5 years ago from a pulmonary embolism. It was so sudden, so unexpected, that I still have trouble believing it. One day she was with me making coffee in the morning, and the next day she was gone. Since that day, Michael became the only thing I had left in this world. He was my reason to get up every morning, to keep opening the shop, to keep going. And I was the father who was always there for him. I paid for his business administration studies. I helped him when he wanted to start his auto parts import business. And I was by his side when he met Emily 3 years ago. At first, I liked Emily, or at least, I tried to believe I did. But before I continue telling you how my daughter-in-law humiliated me in the cruelest way imaginable, I want to thank the Williams Revenge Stories channel for giving me this space to tell my story. I know that many of you listening might have gone through something similar or know someone who has. That's why I ask you, if this story touches your heart, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment letting me know what city or country you're listening from. I would love to know I'm not alone in this. And now, let me tell you from the beginning how my own son asked me not to come to his wedding for aesthetics, and how that decision changed their lives forever. It all started when Michael told me that he and Emily already had a date for the wedding. It was a Sunday afternoon when Michael showed up at the shop. I was finishing repairs on an antique wall clock, one of those with golden hands and a bronze pendulum. I heard the little bell on the door, and when I looked up, there was my son with a smile I hadn't seen in months. "Dad, I have incredible news," he said as he approached the counter. I put my tools aside and took off my magnifying glasses. "Tell me, son, what's going on?" "We have a date for the wedding. It's going to be December 15th, at the Springs Botanical Garden. Emily always dreamed of getting married there." I felt an immense joy. My son was finally going to start his own family. What wonderful news, Michael. Your mother would be so happy, so proud to see you getting married. Michael looked down for a moment when I mentioned Sarah. Then he smiled again. "That's why I came, Dad. I want you to be my best man. No one else deserves that place." I got a lump in my throat. Best man. It was an honor I didn't expect, but it filled my heart. "Of course, son. It will be an honor for me." The next 2 months were a whirlwind of preparations. Michael came to the shop every week to tell me about the progress. That they had already hired the caterer, that they had the photographer, that they had chosen the flowers. I listened to him intently while I kept working on my clocks, happy to see my son so excited. But Emily never came to the shop with him. At first I didn't think much of it. I thought she must be very busy with the preparations, with her job at the marketing agency, with her own things. But as the weeks went by, I started to notice something strange. Every time I asked about her, Michael would quickly change the subject. Every time I suggested the three of us have dinner together, my son would make some excuse. "It's just that Emily has a lot of work, Dad. She's out with her friends organizing the bachelorette party. She's not feeling well. Better another day. There was always a reason. One day, about 3 weeks before the wedding, I dared to ask him directly, "Son, is Emily upset with me about something? I feel like she's avoiding me." Michael got nervous. He started fidgeting with a pocket watch that was on the counter without looking me in the eye. "No, Dad. Why would you say that? Emily really appreciates you. Then why does she never come visit me? Why do you always make excuses when I suggest we meet? She really is just very busy with the wedding, Dad. You know how women get with these things. They want everything to be perfect." I wanted to believe him. I really wanted to believe him. So I didn't insist. 2 weeks before the wedding, Michael arrived at the shop earlier than usual. It was barely 9 in the morning, and I had just opened. He had an expression on his face that I couldn't decipher, like nervousness mixed with discomfort. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something important," he said as he sat in the chair across from my workbench. "Of course, son, tell me." I continued cleaning a tiny gear with my special brush, having no idea what was coming. "It's about the wedding." "Yes? What's wrong? Do you need help with something?" Michael was quiet for a moment. I could see he was struggling with the words, as if it was hard to get them out. "Dad, Emily and I have been thinking, and well," I put the brush aside and looked at him intently. "What is it, Michael?" "The wedding is going to be very elegant, Dad. Very sophisticated. Emily hired a very famous wedding planner. And there are a lot of sponsors involved because she has a lot of followers on Instagram. Influencers will be there. Important businessmen, high society people from my city and even from New York. That's fine, son. I'm glad it's going to be a beautiful wedding. Your mother always wanted to see you have a big wedding." "Yeah, but the thing is, Emily is very worried about the aesthetics of everything. About how it's all going to look in the photos, in the videos, on social media. She has an image to maintain, you understand?" I started to feel a weight in my chest. "I don't understand where you're going with this, Michael." My son took a deep breath. "Dad, Emily thinks that maybe it would be better if you didn't attend the ceremony." Time stopped. The ticking of all the clocks in the shop seemed to grow louder, deafening. I felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. "What did you say?" I asked, hoping I had heard wrong. "Dad, please don't take it the wrong way. It's just that, well, you know how you are. So simple. Your clothes, your hands always stained with oil from the clocks, the way you talk. Emily says that it might clash with the atmosphere she wants to create. She says the photos have to be perfect, and that you might ruin the aesthetic." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you telling me that your own wife doesn't want me at your wedding because I'm not elegant enough for her photos?" "It's not like that, Dad. It's just—" "And you?" I interrupted him, feeling the anger start to boil inside me. "What do you think about this, Michael? Do you also think that your father, the man who raised you, who paid for your education, who helped you start your business, who cried with you when your mother died, would clash at your wedding?" Michael couldn't look me in the eye. "Dad, I just want Emily to be happy. It's her special day. It's our special day. I don't want any problems." "Problems? I'm the problem?" "It's not that, Dad. It's just, look, we can do something better. After the wedding, we'll organize a more intimate dinner, just the three of us, and we can celebrate quietly there. What do you think? No pressure, no cameras, none of that. Just family." I just stared at him, at my son. The baby I held in my arms when he was born. The boy I taught to ride a bike. The young man who cried on my shoulders when his mom died. And now that same man was standing in front of me, asking me to stay away from his wedding. Because his fiancée thought I wasn't aesthetic enough for her photographs. "Get out of my shop," I said in a trembling voice. What? Get out of my shop, Michael. Dad, please understand. Understand what? That to you, that woman's opinion is more important than your own father. That you're willing to humiliate me, to push me aside on the most important day of your life, just so she can have her perfect pictures. Michael stood up. You don't understand, Dad. Emily is my future. She's who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. I need her to be happy. And what am I? Your past? Something you can just throw away when it's not useful anymore? Don't say that. Then explain it to me, Michael. Explain how I'm supposed to feel when my only son tells me I'm not welcome at his wedding. My son fell silent. Then, in a low voice, almost inaudible, he said, I'm sorry, Dad, but my decision is made. I hope one day you'll understand. And he left. He left and left me there, standing in the middle of my shop, surrounded by clocks that kept ticking as if nothing had happened, as if my world hadn't just fallen apart. I closed the shop that day. I couldn't work. I went home, to that small apartment above the shop where Sarah and I lived for so many years. I sat on the old couch in the living room and just stared at the photos I had on the shelf. Photos of Michael as a child. Photos of our family when Sarah was still alive. Photos of happy moments that now seemed to belong to another life. And I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried since I buried my wife. The next few days were horrible. Michael didn't come back to the shop. He didn't call. He didn't send a single message. It was as if I had ceased to exist for him. And I didn't know what to do. Should I go looking for him? Should I beg him to reconsider? Should I just accept his decision and swallow my pride? I talked to Mr. Frank, my neighbor in the shop next door. He's a shoemaker, 82 years old, and he's seen everything in life. I told him what happened. Oh, Oliver, he said while we had coffee in his shop. Kids these days aren't like they used to be. They don't have that respect anymore, that consideration for their parents. But look, I'm going to tell you one thing. If your son is capable of leaving you out of his wedding to please that woman, then he's already showing you what kind of man he's become. And believe me, sooner or later, life is going to make him pay for that disrespect. But what do I do, Mr. Frank? He's my only son. I can't just cut him off. I'm not telling you to cut him off. I'm telling you to value yourself, Oliver. Don't let them treat you like you're a burden. Because if you allow this now, what's next? Maybe when the grandchildren are born, they won't let you see them either, because you're not elegant enough for them. His words hit me hard, because he was right. If I accepted this without saying anything, I was sending the message that they could walk all over me whenever they wanted. A week passed, then another, and the Friday before the wedding arrived. I had been thinking a lot about everything, turning the matter over and over in my mind. And that's when I made a decision. I wasn't going to beg, I wasn't going to humiliate myself, but I also wasn't going to sit at home while my son got married. I had a plan. That Friday afternoon I went to the mall and bought a suit. Not just any suit. An elegant black suit, impeccably tailored, with a white shirt and a dark gray tie. I also bought new leather shoes and even got a haircut and a beard trim at a fancy barber shop downtown. I spent almost all the money I had saved, but I didn't care. If Emily wanted aesthetic, I was going to give her aesthetic. On Saturday morning, the day of the wedding, I put on the new suit. I looked at myself in the mirror and almost didn't recognize myself. I looked like a different person. I looked elegant, sophisticated, just like Emily wanted. But I had no intention of going into the wedding. No, my plan was different. I took my old truck, that Nissan pickup that's already 15 years old but still runs perfectly, and I drove to the Springs Botanical Garden. The ceremony started at 6 in the evening, so I got there around 5:30. I parked in the back, where the employees kept their cars, where no one would see me. From there, I could see the main entrance, and I started to watch the guests arrive. Luxurious cars, brand new SUVs. People got out dressed in the finest clothes. Women in long gowns and men in suits that probably cost what I earned in 6 months. I saw people arrive who I didn't even know. Influencers making videos with their phones, professional photographers everywhere. Everything was exactly as Michael had described it. Elegant, sophisticated, perfect for social media. And then I saw her. Emily arrived in a white limousine. She got out in her wedding dress, a huge, spectacular dress that looked like it was out of a magazine. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless, and she had a radiant smile. Behind her came her bridesmaids, all dressed in pastel pink, and an entourage of photographers who wouldn't stop taking her picture from every angle. She greeted the guests as if she were a queen, posed for the cameras, laughed. She looked completely happy. And I was hidden like a thief, watching my own son's wedding from afar. It hurt. It hurt in a way I can't explain with words. But I stayed there, because I needed to see with my own eyes what Michael had chosen over me. The ceremony began at 6 on the dot. From where I was, I could just hear the music. First the bridesmaids entered, then the groomsmen, and finally, Michael. My son looked so handsome in his charcoal gray suit. He walked to the altar with a steady step, smiling, greeting the guests. When he reached the front, he turned to wait for his bride. And then the wedding march played. Emily entered on her father's arm, a tall, serious man I had only seen in photos. They walked slowly down the aisle while all the guests stood up to watch her pass. The camera flashes didn't stop. From my truck, I watched everything through the trees. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I could see their expressions. I saw when the officiant began the ceremony. I saw when Michael and Emily held hands. I saw when they exchanged the rings that I was supposed to present as the best man. I saw when they shared their first kiss as husband and wife. And I saw when all the guests applauded. My son had just gotten married, and I wasn't there. Well, I wasn't there officially. After the ceremony, the guests moved to the reception area. It was a huge garden decorated with string lights, flowers everywhere, elegant tables with white tablecloths and centerpieces that looked like works of art. I stayed in my truck, watching everything from a distance. I saw when Michael and Emily entered the garden as husband and wife. I saw when they had their first dance. I saw when they cut the cake. I saw everything a father should have seen from the inside, but I was watching from the outside, like a stranger. At one point, one of the waiters came out to smoke near where I was parked. He was a young guy, maybe 25. "Good evening," he greeted me when he saw me. "Good evening," I replied. "Are you here for the wedding?" he asked, probably because he saw me in the suit. "Something like that," I said, without giving details. He was quiet for a moment, taking drags from his cigarette. Then, just making conversation, he said, "It's a really beautiful wedding in there, although the bride is complicated. She spent the whole afternoon yelling at us waiters because, according to her, the glasses weren't arranged correctly. And a little while ago, she chewed out the wedding planner because some guests who weren't important enough were sitting too close to the main table." "Really?" I asked, feeling curious. "Yeah. She's one of those people who thinks just because she has Instagram followers, she's a big shot. The groom seems like a nice guy, but her, oof, poor man." The waiter finished his cigarette and went back inside. I stayed there thinking about his words. Poor man. That's how he had described my son. And maybe he was right. Maybe Michael didn't realize the kind of woman he had just married. It was almost 10 at night when I decided to leave. There was no point in staying. The wedding would go on late, and I had seen enough. But just as I was about to start the truck, something caught my attention. I saw Emily come out of the garden talking on her phone. She looked annoyed. She walked to a more private area, near where I was, though she didn't see me because it was dark and my truck was in the shadows. And then I heard her talk. "No, Mom. I'm not exaggerating. The wedding is turning out perfect. Perfect. I already have like 1,000 photos to upload to Instagram. Yes, the decor is exactly how I wanted it. Michael? Oh, Mom, he's happy. He does whatever I tell him. Yes, even the thing with his dad. Remember I told you his dad is some messy old man who has a grubby little watch shop? Well, I managed to convince Michael not to invite him. Imagine how embarrassing it would be if he showed up in the photos with his hands stained with oil. No, Mom, I don't care if I'm cruel. This is my wedding, my day, and nobody was going to ruin it, especially not some old man who doesn't even know how to dress. I felt my blood boil. Every word from that woman was like a knife twisting in my chest. But I stayed quiet, listening. Besides, just between us, that old man isn't any use to Michael anymore. He already served his purpose of raising him and paying for things. Now we are going to start our family. And we don't need an old man getting in the way. Oh, Mom, stop saying I'm awful. I'm practical. Michael needs to learn that I am his priority now, not his dad. I couldn't listen anymore. I started the truck and got out of there as fast as I could. I drove back home without really seeing the road. The tears wouldn't let me see clearly. I had to pull over twice because I couldn't control my sobbing. Emily's words kept echoing in my head. That old man isn't any use to Michael anymore. He already served his purpose. An old man getting in the way. I got to my apartment after 11 at night. I took off the suit that had cost me so much money and threw it on the bed. I poured myself a tequila, something I almost never do, but I needed it that night. I sat on the living room couch with the bottle and the glass, looking at the photos of Sarah on the shelf. "Did you see what happened, my love?" I said to her photograph, as if she could hear me. "Did you see what our son has become? Did you see how he let that woman humiliate me like this?" Of course, Sarah didn't answer. But I kept talking to her because I needed to vent to someone, even if it was just a photograph. "You always told me we should raise Michael with values, with respect, with dignity. And we did, didn't we? We taught him to be a good man. But something went wrong, Sarah. Something went very wrong. Because a good man doesn't abandon his father. A good man doesn't let his wife talk like that about the person who raised him." I downed the tequila in one gulp. It burned my throat. But that physical pain was nothing compared to the pain I felt in my chest. I couldn't sleep that night. I stayed on the couch until sunrise, thinking about everything. About Sarah. About Michael as a child. About all the sacrifices we had made. About all the times I worked double shifts to pay for his studies. About all the nights Sarah stayed up late taking care of him when he was sick. And for what? So he could treat me like a burden, like something that wasn't useful anymore. Sunday morning around 9, I heard a knock on the door. I got up from the couch, my whole body aching. I hadn't changed my clothes. I was wearing the same t-shirt and pants I had on under the suit last night. I opened the door, expecting it to be Mr. Frank or another neighbor. But it was Michael. He was wearing jeans and a casual t-shirt. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. The party must have ended very late. "Dad," he said softly, "can I come in?" I just stared at him in silence for a few seconds. A part of me wanted to slam the door in his face. Another part still saw him as my son, as the little boy who used to run and hug me every time I came home from work. I stepped aside and let him in. Michael walked into the living room and stood there, looking at the photos of his mom. He didn't sit down. He seemed nervous, uncomfortable. "What did you come for?" I asked in a cold voice as I closed the door. "I came too. I don't know. I came because I felt like I had to." "Ah, And does Emily know you're here? No. She's still asleep at the hotel. We're leaving for our honeymoon in Cancun this afternoon, but I needed to see you before I left. Why? To rub it in my face how beautiful your wedding was? The wedding I wasn't invited to? Michael looked down. Dad, I know you're angry. Angry? I cut him off, feeling all the rage from the night before start to spill out. You think I'm angry? No, Michael. I'm shattered. I'm humiliated. I'm hurt in a way I never thought possible. And it's all your fault. And that woman you decided to marry. Don't talk about Emily like that. Oh no? I can't talk about her like that? You know what, Michael? I was at your wedding last night. My son looked at me, confused. What? You heard me. I was there, in the parking lot, hiding like a thief, watching your wedding from afar because I didn't have the courage to stay home while my only son got married without me. Michael turned pale. Dad, I didn't know. And you know what else? I heard your darling wife talking on the phone with her mom. I heard her say I was a messy old man with a grubby little shop. I heard her say I wasn't any use to you anymore. I heard her say she managed to convince you not to invite me so I wouldn't ruin her perfect photos. That's not. Not what, Michael? Not true? Are you going to tell me she didn't say those things? Are you going to tell me you didn't let her talk about me like that? My son was silent. His silence gave me the answer I needed. Go, I said, pointing to the door. Dad, wait. I said get out, go with your wife. Go on your honeymoon. Go live your perfect life without the burdensome old man who isn't any use to you anymore. Don't say that. You matter to me, Dad. Oh yeah? I matter to you? Then tell me, Michael, if I matter so much, why didn't you defend me? Why did you let that woman humiliate me? Why did you choose to please her instead of respecting your father? Tears started to roll down Michael's cheeks. Because I love her, Dad. Because I want our marriage to work. Because I need her to be happy. And for her to be happy, I have to be unhappy? Is that the equation? It's not that simple. Yes, it is, Michael. It is. You either respect me or you please her. And you already chose. You already made your decision. So now you have to live with the consequences. What consequences? He asked in a trembling voice. I stepped closer to him. I looked him directly in the eyes. That starting today, to me, you are no longer my son. I saw those words hit him like a fist. I saw his face contort. I saw him start to sob. No, don't say that, Dad. Please. Why not? You already told me I'm no use to you, that I already served my purpose. So let me free myself from this burden. Let me stop being the father of the man who let his wife humiliate him. Dad, please. Go, Michael. Go before I say things I really will regret. My son stood there for a few more seconds, crying, shaking. Then without another word he walked to the door. He opened it, and he left. When I heard the door close, I collapsed onto the couch. And I wept. I wept like I hadn't even cried when Sarah died. Because this was different. Sarah was gone, but she didn't choose it. She didn't choose to leave. But Michael had abandoned me by his own choice. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks in which Michael didn't look for me. 3 weeks in which I didn't look for him either. 3 weeks where I threw myself into work just to stop thinking, to stop feeling. Mr. Frank came by often for coffee to check on me. He knew what happened because I had told him everything. That boy will be back, Oliver. You'll see. When he realizes what kind of woman he married, he'll be back. I don't know if I want him to come back, Mr. Frank. I don't know if I can forgive what he did. Forgiveness isn't for him, Oliver. It's for you. So you can move on with your life without carrying that weight in your heart. I wanted to believe him, but the pain was too great. One afternoon in mid-January, around 5, I was in the shop repairing a wall clock when I heard the bell on the door. I looked up, expecting a customer, but it was Emily. She had never come to my shop alone. In fact, I think she had only come once or twice with Michael, and she always stayed outside, waiting in the car. She was wearing an expensive sweatsuit, big sunglasses, and a designer bag that probably cost more than all my watchmaking tools combined. "Good afternoon, Oliver," she said with a fake smile, taking off her glasses. I didn't return the greeting. I just stared at her in silence. "Can we talk?" she asked, approaching the counter. "What do you want to talk about, Emily?" "About Michael. He's in a bad way, Oliver. Ever since we got back from the honeymoon, he hasn't been the same. He's sad, distracted, absent. And I know it's because of what happened between you two." "Ah, and you've come to ask me to forgive him? To forget the humiliation you put me through?" Emily sighed impatiently. "Look, Oliver, I didn't come here to argue. I came because I need you to fix this with my husband. He needs you." "Oh, he does? He needs me? That's funny. Because I remember just a few weeks ago, you said I wasn't any use to him anymore. That I had already served my purpose of raising him and paying for things." I saw her smile freeze. "What? What did you say?" "You heard me. I heard you that night, Emily. I heard you talking on the phone with your mom. I heard you say all those horrible things about me." Emily turned pale. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. "What's wrong?" I said sarcastically. "Run out of nice words? Don't know what to say now that you've been caught?" I I didn't mean those things like that. I was stressed. It was my wedding day. I had been drinking champagne. Don't give me excuses, Emily. You said exactly what you thought, what you think. And not only that, you convinced my son to leave me out of his wedding. You brainwashed him into believing I was a burden. That's not true. No? Then explain why Michael, who was always a good son, who always respected me, suddenly started treating me like I was an embarrassment to him. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I didn't realize this all started when you came into his life?" Emily's expression changed. The mask of kindness fell away, revealing her true face. "You know what, Oliver? You're right. Yes, it was me who made Michael see that he needed to stop being Daddy's little boy. It was me who made him understand that it was time to start his own family, with his own priorities. And yes, I'll be honest, I didn't want you at my wedding, because my wedding was going to be perfect, and you, with your old clothes, your dirty hands, your fifth-rate little shop, you didn't fit into that perfection." I felt the rage boiling inside me, but I stayed calm. "Then why did you come? If you despise me so much, why are you here?" "Because Michael is being unbearable. Because ever since you two fought, he won't stop talking about you, about how bad he feels, about how much he misses you. And I got married to have a husband who would put me first, not to compete with the memory of his dad. Well, that's too bad, Emily. Because no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you manipulate him, Michael will always be my son, and I will always be his father. And that's something you will never be able to change." "Oh, yeah?" she said with a malicious smirk. "Well, let me tell you something, old man. Michael is mine now, and I'm going to do everything in my power to drive you two further and further apart. Because I won't let you ruin my marriage with your drama of, 'Oh, my son abandoned me.' Get out of my shop." "With pleasure. But before I go, I want you to know something. When Michael and I have children, you will never meet them. You will never know what they're like, what their names are. Nothing. Because I won't let a bitter old man like you fill their heads with ideas about what a bad son their father is." That was the last straw. I stood up, walked around the counter, and moved toward her. Emily took a step back, probably frightened by my expression. "Listen to me very carefully, Emily," I said in a low, firm voice. "You can manipulate Michael all you want. You can turn him against me. You can make him believe I'm the bad guy in this story. But there's one thing you will never be able to do. Erase everything I did for him. Erase the sacrifices, the love, the years of work and dedication. That is engraved somewhere in his heart. And no matter how hard you try, you will never be able to erase it. We'll see, Emily said with contempt. Then she turned around and stormed out of the shop, slamming the door. I stood there, shaking with anger, watching her get into her luxury SUV and drive away. I couldn't sleep that night. Emily's words kept spinning in my head. When we have children, you will never meet them. That threat hurt me more than I wanted to admit, because it meant I hadn't just lost my son, I would also lose my future grandchildren. How had my life come to this? How had I gone from being a proud father to being a burden that needed to be discarded? Another 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks in which I fell into a deep depression. I stopped eating well. I barely slept. I hardly worked. Mr. Frank was worried about me, but I told him I was fine, that I just needed time. But the truth was, I wasn't fine. I was devastated. One Thursday afternoon, I was in the shop when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello, Mr. Oliver?" a woman's voice said, one I didn't recognize. "Yes, this is he. Mr. Oliver, I'm calling from General Hospital. I need you to come as soon as possible. Your son Michael was in a car accident and is in the emergency room." I felt the world drop out from under me. What? How is he? Is he serious? "I need you to come, sir. I can't give you any more information over the phone." I hung up and ran out of the shop. I didn't even lock the door. I got in my truck and drove like a maniac toward the hospital. When I got to the ER, I went to the reception desk. "I'm here from Michael Sanchez. I'm his father." The receptionist checked her computer. "One moment, sir." She made a call and then said, "The doctor will be right out to speak with you. Please wait in the seating area." I sat in one of those uncomfortable waiting room chairs, my heart pounding 1,000 miles an hour. How badly was Michael hurt? What if he died? What if the last words we said to each other were those horrible, painful, angry words? After what felt like an eternity, a young doctor came out holding a tablet. "Mr. Oliver Sanchez?" she asked. "Yes, that's me. How is my son?" The doctor looked at me with a strange expression. "Sir, I think there's been a misunderstanding." "Misunderstanding? What are you talking about?" "Your son is fine. He wasn't in any accident." I froze. "What?" "But I got a call from here saying." "I know. I checked the call log. Someone made that call from one of the hospital's phones, but it wasn't one of our nurses or doctors. Someone came in, used the phone, and called you, pretending to be medical staff." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "Are you telling me that someone lied to me?" "It seems so, sir. I'm very sorry. We've already reported the incident to security. I left the hospital completely confused and angry. Who would do something like that? Who would play such a cruel joke on me?" And then I understood. Emily. It had to be her. No one else had a reason to do this to me. She must have wanted to see me suffer, see me desperate, see me run to the hospital like an idiot. I pulled out my cell phone and dialed Michael's number. I hadn't spoken to him in weeks, but I needed to know if he knew anything about this. The phone rang and rang until it went to voicemail. I dialed again, voicemail again. On the third try, someone answered. But it wasn't Michael. It was Emily. "What do you want, Oliver?" she said in a mocking tone. "Was it you? Did you call me saying Michael was in an accident?" She laughed, a laugh that chilled my blood. "Did you get scared, old man? Did you think your precious son was dying? You're sick. How could you do something like that? I wanted you to feel a little of the pain you're causing. Michael won't stop being sad because of you. So I decided to give you a taste of your own medicine. Put Michael on the phone. Now. He's not here. He went out. And even if he were, you think I'd let you talk to him? I already told you, Oliver. He's mine now, and you are nobody in his life. And she hung up. I stood there in the hospital parking lot staring at my phone, unable to believe what had just happened. That woman wasn't just manipulative. She was cruel. She was evil. And my son was married to her. I drove back to the shop feeling a huge weight on my chest. But something inside me had changed. I didn't just feel sadness anymore. I felt determination. Emily thought she had won. She thought she had destroyed me. But she was wrong. Because even if Michael had abandoned me, even if she had humiliated me in the worst possible ways, I still had something she could never have. Dignity. And it was time to prove it. That night, sitting in my apartment with a cup of coffee that had gone cold, I made a decision that would change everything. I wasn't going to let Emily keep playing with me. I wasn't going to keep being the victim of her cruelty. And above all, I wasn't going to let her completely destroy the relationship with my son without doing anything about it. But I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to humiliate myself. I was going to do something different. I was going to show Michael, with actions and not words, who the woman he married really was. The next day, Friday morning, I went straight to an internet cafe near the shop. I'm not very good with technology, but I knew the basics. I went on Facebook, Instagram, Google, and I started researching Emily. It turns out she was exactly what she appeared to be. An influencer with almost 200,000 followers on Instagram. She posted photos of her perfect life, her designer clothes, her meals at expensive restaurants, her trips. And since the wedding, she hadn't stopped posting photos of her perfect marriage with Michael. In every photo, Michael was smiling. But I, who had known him since he was born, I could see something in his eyes. Something that wasn't right. A sadness hidden behind those forced smiles. I kept digging. I read the comments on her posts. Most were shallow compliments. What a beautiful couple. What a gorgeous dress. Relationship goals. But every now and then there were different comments. Comments from people who seemed to know her from before. One comment in particular caught my eye. It was from a woman named Veronica who had written, "You forgot Robert pretty fast, didn't you, Em? Poor guy. He's still paying for the car you asked him to buy in your name." Emily had deleted the comment, but someone had taken a screenshot and reposted it in the comments. Other users started asking who Robert was, and Emily blocked everyone who asked. Interesting. I kept searching and found this Veronica's profile. I sent her a private message, introducing myself as a family acquaintance and asking about her comment. I didn't expect her to reply, but to my surprise, a few hours later, I got her response. "Hi, Oliver. Of course I remember that comment. Robert was Emily's boyfriend before Michael. They were together for almost 4 years. Emily convinced him to buy a luxury car in her name because she had bad credit. Poor Robert went deep into debt to buy her that car. And 2 months later, Emily dumped him for Michael because he had more money. She kept the car, and Robert is still paying the monthly installments. She's a gold digger, Oliver, the worst kind. I don't know who Michael is, but if he's her new husband, God help him." I read that message 3 times. Then I asked Veronica if she had any proof of what she was saying. She sent me screenshots of conversations where Robert told her what Emily had done to him. She also sent me photos of Emily and Robert together, with dates that proved she had started dating Michael while she was still with Robert. I printed everything. Every screenshot, every photo, every conversation. I put them in a folder that I titled simply, The truth about Emily, but I wasn't going to show them to Michael yet. No. Because I knew if I showed up with proof that his wife was a bad person, he would think I was just trying to break them up out of spite. Emily had already gotten into his head that I was the problem, the bitter one, the one who couldn't let go. I needed Michael to discover the truth for himself. 2 weeks passed. 2 weeks where I kept working at the shop, kept researching Emily, and kept planning how to make Michael open his eyes. One afternoon, while I was checking Emily's Facebook from the internet cafe, I found something interesting. She had posted a photo at a fancy restaurant with a friend, drinking wine and laughing. The photo was from that same day, at 2 in the afternoon. The curious thing was that in the photo, Emily was wearing a very striking red dress, and on her wrist, clearly visible, was a gold watch that I recognized immediately. It was a Rolex Datejust from the 1,980 seconds. I knew exactly where that watch had come from. It had been brought to my shop about a month ago, right after the wedding. An elderly woman named Ruth had brought it to me to fix. It was her late husband's watch, she had told me. It was worth a lot of money, but more than that, it had enormous sentimental value for her. She had asked me to clean it and change the battery, and said she would be back for it in 2 weeks. But she never came back. I had tried calling her several times at the number she left, but she never answered. The watch was still in my shop, waiting for Mrs. Ruth to pick it up. Or at least, that's what I thought. Because now, looking at that photo, I realized something terrible. That watch Emily was wearing was identical to the one I had in my shop. Same model, same age. It even had the same small scratch on the crystal that I had noticed when Mrs. Ruth brought it in. But how was that possible? I ran out of the internet cafe and went straight to the shop. I opened the safe where I kept the watches that were being repaired or waiting to be picked up. I looked for the envelope with the name Ruth Martinez. The envelope was empty. The watch was gone. I felt a chill run down my spine. Someone had come into my shop and stolen that watch. But the safe showed no signs of being forced. Whoever took it knew the combination or had access to the keys. And then I remembered. About 3 weeks ago, right after Emily came to threaten me at the shop, I had stepped out for a few minutes to buy some food at the corner store. I left the shop unlocked because I was only going to be 5 minutes. When I got back, everything seemed to be in order. But now I realized. Emily could have come back in those 5 minutes. She could have come in, taken the watch, and left before I returned. I checked the security cameras I have installed in the shop. They're old cameras and the quality isn't great, but they must have recorded something. I started reviewing the recordings from that afternoon, and there it was. 3 minutes after I left the shop, you could clearly see Emily entering. She looked around everywhere to make sure no one was there. Then she walked up to the counter, searched through my things, found the keys to the safe, which I, like an idiot, always left in the same drawer. She opened the safe, took the envelope with the watch, put it in her bag, and ran out. The whole thing took less than 2 minutes. Emily wasn't just manipulative and cruel. She was a thief. I saved the recording to a USB drive. This was the evidence I needed. But it still wasn't the time to use it. First, I called Mrs. Ruth. This time she answered, "Hello, Mrs. Ruth? This is Oliver from the watch shop." "Oh, Mr. Oliver, I'm so sorry I haven't been by for the watch. I was admitted to the hospital with pneumonia, and I just got out a few days ago. Don't worry, ma'am. Actually, I need to talk to you about something serious. Could you come to the shop tomorrow?" "Of course. Did something happen to the watch?" "I'd rather explain it in person, ma'am." The next day, Mrs. Ruth arrived at the shop around 11 in the morning. She was a woman in her 70s, short, with completely white hair and a sweet look in her eyes. "Good morning, Mr. Oliver. What happened?" I explained everything. I showed her the photo of Emily wearing the watch. I showed her the empty envelope. I showed her the security camera footage. Mrs. Ruth turned pale. That woman stole my husband's watch. Yes, ma'am. And I am so very sorry. I should have been more careful. Who is she? Do you know her? I took a deep breath. She is my daughter-in-law, Mrs. Ruth, my son's wife. The woman looked at me with a mixture of shock and pity. Oh, Mr. Oliver, what a terrible situation. I know, and that's why I need to ask you a favor, ma'am. We need to go to the police and file a report for theft. We have the proof. We have the recording, and we have the photo of her wearing the watch. Mrs. Ruth nodded with determination. Let's go right now. That watch was the only thing I had left of my husband. I'm not going to let that thief keep it. We went to the police station together. We filed the report. We handed over all the evidence, and the officer told us they would proceed with an arrest warrant. Mr. Oliver, the officer said while taking my statement, are you sure you want to proceed with this? I understand the accused is your son's wife. This could cause very serious family problems. I am completely sure, officer. My daughter-in-law didn't just steal this woman's watch. She has been manipulating, threatening, and humiliating me for months. It's time she paid for her actions. The officer nodded. Very well. We will notify you when the arrest warrant is ready. We left the station and Mrs. Ruth gave me a hug. Thank you for doing this, Mr. Oliver. I know it can't be easy for you. You're right, ma'am. It's not easy. But it's the right thing to do. 2 days later, the officer called me. Mr. Oliver, we have the arrest warrant. We are going to proceed with arresting Mrs. Emily Sanchez this afternoon. Do you know where we can find her? Check her Instagram, officer. She's always posting where she is. Right now, she just posted a story saying she's at the Elite Fitness Gym downtown. Perfect. We'll head there. Thank you, Mr. Oliver. I hung up the phone and felt a mix of emotions. On one hand, satisfaction that Emily was finally going to pay for something she had done. On the other hand, sadness, because I knew this was going to destroy Michael. But he needed to see the truth. He had to see it. 3 hours passed. I was in the shop, trying to concentrate on repairing a pocket watch, when my phone rang. It was Michael. Dad? His voice sounded desperate, almost hysterical. What did you do? What are you talking about, Michael? About Emily. The police just arrested her at the gym, in front of everyone. They say she's accused of theft and that you were the one who filed the complaint. Is it true? I was silent for a moment. Yes, it's true. How could you do that to my wife? Are you so bitter that you invented a false charge just to get revenge? I didn't invent anything, Michael. Emily stole a watch from my shop, a watch that was worth a lot of money and had enormous sentimental value for its owner. I have proof. I have the security camera footage showing how she came into my shop and stole it. That's impossible. Emily would never do something like that. Come to the shop, Michael. Come, and I'll show you the proof. And then you can decide if your father is a liar or if your wife is a thief. There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, in a trembling voice, Michael said, I'm on my way. He hung up. 20 minutes later, Michael burst into the shop like a hurricane. His eyes were red, his hair was a mess, and he had a look of desperation I had never seen on him. Show me the proof, he demanded. Without a word, I took out my laptop and played the security camera footage. Michael watched in silence as Emily entered the shop, opened the safe, took the watch, and left. When the video finished, his face was completely white. That can't be real. It's real, Michael. And there's more. I took out the folder with all the information I had gathered on Emily. The screenshots of the conversations with Robert. The photos proving she had cheated on him. the testimonies from people who knew her and said she was a gold digger. Michael read every page in silence, and with every page he read, I saw him start to crumble. When he finished, he collapsed into a chair and covered his face with his hands. How? How did I not see it? I walked over to him and put my hand on his shoulder. Because you didn't want to see it, son. Because you were in love. And when you're in love, sometimes you don't see the things that are obvious to everyone else. Dad, I messed up. I told you horrible things. I pushed you away from my wedding. I let her humiliate you. And all for a woman who turned out to be a liar, a manipulator, and a thief. Tears started rolling down Michael's cheeks. I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry. You can't forgive me. Seeing my son like that, broken, crying, full of regret, it broke my heart. Despite everything that had happened, despite the pain he had caused me, he was still my son, and I was still his father. Michael, I said in a firm but loving voice, look at me. He looked up. His eyes were red and swollen. You made a mistake. A very big mistake. You hurt me in a way I never thought possible. But there's still time to fix it. There's still time for you to get your dignity and your self-worth back. How, Dad? How do I fix all this? First, you need to end this sham of a marriage. Emily doesn't love you, Michael. She's just using you. And if you stay with her, she will destroy you completely. But the money I spent on the wedding, the house we bought together, our bank accounts are shared. None of that matters, son. What good is a beautiful house if you're living with someone who doesn't respect you? What good is being married if your wife only sees you as an ATM? Michael nodded slowly. You're right. You're completely right. He was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then he asked me, and you, Dad? Can you? Can you ever forgive me? I looked him straight in the eye. Michael, you are my son, and you will always be my son. But forgiveness isn't something you just give. It's something you earn, with actions, with change, with time. I understand. And I swear to you, Dad, I will spend the rest of my life making up for all the harm I caused you. I don't need you to spend the rest of your life making it up to me. I just need you to be the man your mother and I raised. The man of values, of respect, of dignity. That man who somehow got lost when Emily came into your life. Michael stood up and hugged me. It was a long, tight hug, full of regret and love. And I hugged him back, because despite everything, he was still my son. I'm going to fix this, Dad. I promise you. I know, son. I know. That night, Michael went to the police station to talk to Emily. I didn't go with him. That was a path he had to walk alone. He came back to my house after 11 at night. He had an expression of extreme exhaustion. What happened? I asked, pouring him a coffee. Emily. Emily isn't sorry for anything. Not for the theft, not for how she treated you, not for anything. She told me I was weak for believing my father over her. She said the wedding was a waste of time and that she could find someone better than me any time. And what did you say to her? I told her I want a divorce, that I'm going to annul our marriage, and that she can keep whatever she wants, except my dignity. I felt an immense pride hearing those words. I'm glad to hear that, son. The only thing I'm worried about, Dad, is that the wedding was so recent. All our friends, our family, they're all going to start asking questions. They're going to want to know what happened. Then let them know the truth, Michael. The truth always comes out, sooner or later. And it's better that it comes out now, before Emily does any more damage to you. Michael nodded. You're right. I'm going to post a statement on social media explaining what happened. I won't give all the details, but I will make it clear that Emily was not the person I thought she was." "That sounds good." We sat in silence for a moment, drinking coffee. Then Michael asked me, "Dad, do you think Mom would be disappointed in me?" The question caught me by surprise. "Why do you ask that?" Because I failed. I failed to see who Emily really was. I failed to defend you when I should have. I failed to be the son you both raised." I reached out and put my hand on his. "Michael, your mother loved you more than anything in this world. And yes, she would probably be disappointed in some of the decisions you made. But she would also be proud that you had the courage to admit your mistakes and do the right thing to fix them. That's what really matters. Thanks, Dad. Thank you for not abandoning me when I abandoned you." Fathers never abandon their sons, kiddo, even if the sons sometimes lose their way. That night, Michael slept on the couch in my living room, like when he was a kid and had nightmares and would come running to sleep near me and Sarah to feel safe. And I stayed awake for several more hours, thinking about everything that had happened, about how a woman had almost destroyed the relationship between my son and me, about how love can blind us and make us make terrible decisions. But I also thought about something more important, that in the end the truth always wins, and that dignity and self-respect are worth more than any marriage, any perfect photograph, any appearance of happiness. That night, looking at the stars from my apartment window, I spoke to Sarah in my mind. "We did it, my love. Our son was lost for a moment, but we got him back. And now he's going to be okay. We're both going to be okay." And for the first time in months, I felt peace. The days that followed were complicated, to say the least. The news of Emily's arrest spread like wildfire through the city. Not just because she had a lot of followers on social media, but because she was arrested in public at the most exclusive gym in the city, in front of dozens of people who didn't hesitate to pull out their phones and record everything. By the next day, there were videos everywhere. Videos of Emily screaming that it was all a misunderstanding, that she was innocent, that she was being framed. Videos of her being handcuffed and put in the patrol car, while her influencer friends recorded her with shocked expressions. The scandal was huge. Michael kept his word. He posted a statement on his social media explaining that he was divorcing Emily because he had discovered serious incompatibilities and unacceptable behaviors that he could not overlook. He didn't give specific details about the theft or how she had treated me, but he did make it clear that the marriage had been a mistake. The comments on his post were all over the place. Some supported him and told him he had made the right decision. Others criticized him, saying he was a coward for abandoning his wife at her worst moment. And others started telling their own stories about Emily. A girl named Andrea commented, "I was in college with Emily. She was always like this. Manipulative, a gold digger, capable of doing whatever it took to get what she wanted. I'm glad Michael realized it in time." Another comment from someone named George said, "Emily owes money to half the city. She borrowed $20,000 from me 2 years ago for a family emergency and never paid me back. Then I saw her showing off $50,000 handbags on Instagram." Every comment I read confirmed what I already knew. Emily was a professional con artist, and Michael had been just one more victim of her manipulations. But the important thing was that my son had opened his eyes in time. A week after the arrest, Mrs. Ruth got her watch back. The police had confiscated it from Emily's house as evidence, but after the legal process, they returned it to its rightful owner. The woman came to the shop to thank me personally, with tears in her eyes. "Mr. Oliver, you don't know what it means to me to have my husband's watch back. I thought I had lost it forever. Thank you. Thank you so much. You have nothing to thank me for, Mrs. Ruth. I just did the right thing. And your son? How is he? He's learning. He's growing. He's becoming the man he's supposed to be again. And it was true. In that week, Michael had changed noticeably. He was back to being more like the son I knew. He came to the shop every day. He helped me with the clocks. We talked about everything. Little by little, we were rebuilding our relationship. One afternoon, while we were working together on an antique pendulum clock that needed a complete restoration, Michael said something I will never forget. "Dad, when I was with Emily, she always told me that you were part of the past, that I needed to evolve and leave behind old-fashioned customs like respecting your parents and traditional values. She told me that was outdated, that modern people didn't think like that." "And you believed her?" I asked, gently cleaning one of the clock's gears. "For a while, yeah. I started to think that maybe she was right, that maybe I needed to be more independent, more modern, and that's why I pushed you out of my life. Because I thought that's what a married man was supposed to do. And what do you think now?" Michael stopped working and looked at me directly. "Now, I think there is nothing outdated about respecting the person who gave you life. There is nothing outdated about valuing the sacrifices they made for you. There is nothing outdated about honoring your parents. That's not being from the past, Dad. That's being a decent human being." I felt a lump form in my throat. "I'm glad to hear you say that, son. Emily made me believe that true love was romantic love, and that everything else was secondary. But now I understand I was wrong. The first love you should honor is the love of those who raised you. Because without that love, without that sacrifice, none of the rest would be possible." I clapped him on the shoulder. "Your mother would be very proud to hear you talk like that. I know. And I'm going to spend the rest of my life honoring her memory. And honoring you, Dad. I will never again let anyone push me away from you. I will never again choose someone over my family." Those words healed wounds that I thought would never close. The legal process against Emily ran its course. Besides the theft charge, it turned out she had other pending complaints. Fraud, embezzlement, dokumentforgeri. Many people who knew her started to come forward to testify against her. In the end, Emily was sentenced to 2 years in prison and ordered to pay restitution not only to Mrs. Ruth but to several other people she had scammed over the years. Her Instagram account was shut down after Instagram discovered she had bought fake followers and had been involved in scam schemes using her influence. Her entire social media empire collapsed in a matter of weeks. Michael managed to get the marriage annulled. Since only a few months had passed since the wedding, and he could prove that Emily had hidden important information, her history of scams and debts, the judge approved the annulment. It was as if that marriage had never existed. He lost some money in the process, yes. The house they had bought together had to be sold. Some furniture and things they had acquired were also lost. But as Michael himself said, I'd rather lose money than lose my dignity. And I couldn't agree more. 6 months after all that drama, on a quiet Saturday afternoon, Michael and I were in the shop organizing some new parts that had just arrived when he said to me, "Dad, I've been thinking about something. Tell me, son, I want to learn your trade. I want you to teach me how to be a watchmaker." I looked at him, surprised. "Really? I thought you wanted to continue with your auto parts business." "I do, but I don't know. Being here with you these weeks, watching you work with so much dedication, with so much love for what you do, it made me realize that I want to do something like that. I want to have a craft that means something. Something I can teach my children someday, just like you're teaching me now." I felt an overwhelming emotion. "Are you sure? It's not easy. It requires a lot of patience, a lot of practice. I'm sure, Dad. Besides, someone has to continue the legacy of Oliver's watch shop when you're gone, right? And I want that someone to be me." I couldn't stop the tears from welling up. "My son, My son wanted to learn my craft. He wanted to continue what I had built for over 40 years. It would be an honor to teach you, Michael. An honor. And so, a new chapter in our lives began. A chapter of healing, of rebuilding, of learning. Now, when I look back at everything that happened, I realize several important things. First, that the greatest pain sometimes comes from the people we love the most. But that pain can also be an opportunity to grow, to become stronger, to remember who we really are. Second, that dignity is non-negotiable. It doesn't matter how much you love someone. It doesn't matter how much you want to please them. You must never sacrifice your dignity or allow others to trample on it, because without dignity, we are nothing. Third, that true love doesn't ask you to abandon your family. True love doesn't demand that you choose between your partner and your parents. True love adds. It doesn't subtract. True love makes you a better person. It doesn't turn you into someone you don't recognize. And fourth, that it's never too late to make things right. Michael made serious mistakes. He hurt me deeply, but he had the courage to recognize his mistakes and do what was necessary to fix them. And that is worth more than never having made them at all. Today, as I write this, my son is here beside me, learning to repair a pocket watch. He makes mistakes, he gets frustrated, he tries again. Just like when I taught him to ride a bike when he was 6 years old. And I watch him with pride. Because I got my son back. Because our relationship, though wounded, is healing. Because at the end of the day, the love between a father and a son is stronger than any manipulation, any humiliation, any pain. If you who are listening are going through something similar, if you have a son or daughter who is pulled away from you because of a toxic partner's influence, I want to tell you something. Do not lose hope. Do not lose your dignity by begging or humiliating yourself. Stand firm in your values. Let the truth come to light. And trust that the true love, the love you planted for years raising your children, will sooner or later bloom again. Because children can get lost temporarily. They can be blinded. They can make bad decisions. But deep down, deep inside, that love you gave them is still there. And when they finally open their eyes, they will come back. You just need to be patient. And above all, you need to value yourselves. Because you are not a burden. You are not outdated. You are not an embarrassment. You are parents. And that is the most valuable, most honorable, most important thing anyone can be in this life. I want to thank the Williams Revenge Stories channel again for allowing me to tell my story. I know it was long. I know it was painful, but I needed to share it. Because I know many of you are living through similar situations and need to know you are not alone. If this story touched your heart, I ask you to please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and share this story with someone you think might need to hear it. Maybe you have a friend, a relative, an acquaintance who is going through a similar situation and needs that push to remember their worth. And if you are watching this on YouTube, a card should be appearing on the screen right now with another story from the channel. I invite you to click it and listen to other experiences from parents and grandparents who, like me, have been through difficult situations but have found the strength to move forward with dignity. My name is Oliver. I'm 67 years old. I'm a watchmaker here in my city. And this was my story. A story of humiliation, of pain, of betrayal, but also of dignity, of true love, and of second chances. Because at the end of the day, what really matters isn't how many times we fall or get hurt. What matters is that we have the courage to get up, to maintain our dignity, and to keep moving forward with our heads held high. And remember, never ever let anyone make you feel like you aren't worthwhile. Because you are worthy, you matter, and you deserve respect, especially from those you gave life to. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here, and God bless you all. Until next time, friends of William's Revenge Stories. Until next time.